Welcome back. A New York jury finding former President Trump guilty on 34 counts in his so-called hush money trial yesterday, making him the first U.S. president to be convicted of a crime. Kellyanne Conway, your reaction.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the case for a moment, Maria, because I'm the one trying to look forward in most of these interviews. But I was a campaign manager in 2016, and when I took over, we were losing to Hillary Clinton by double digits, almost 20 points among women. Why is this important? Because when you're talking about some stupid meeting in Trump Tower a year and a half earlier, where a publisher of a tabloid thinks you're going to beat Hillary Clinton based on what people see as they're unloading their groceries, is foolishness. And the reason they don't call me as a witness is because I testified to the Stormy Daniels grand jury twice. And they couldn't possibly call anybody who actually had authority for the campaign in the winning months to say, here was our strategy. The idea that we had $130,000 extra dollars laying around, and I would say, go give it to some porn person. I don't call her a star because star is an opinion and I don't share it, have no basis to form the opinion. But the idea that you're going to pay it to some woman versus put a couple more ads up in Wisconsin and Michigan, this was never part of the campaign strategy for those actually running the campaign. Do I think people were trying to get Trump's attention and his affection and make themselves more important to him in this campaign? Yes, but Michael Cohen, David Pecker, and even Donald J. Trump had never been in a campaign before. So we need to back up also, and everybody's talked about the foolishness, the unfairness. The fix was in from the beginning. But in terms of campaign strategy, you heard testimony from no one involved in the campaign in this case, and I think that's very important to note. I listened to the market report. I think this is important because, remember, when people want change, it's because the economy is not doing well. They don't feel peaceful. They don't feel prosperous. They don't feel secure in any aspect of their lives. They don't feel like the system is fair. Who is the answer and the antidote to that? It's Donald Trump. He's the outsider now. He is able to say to the so-called forgotten men, forgotten women, forgotten children, I'm one of you. Look at what the system has done to me. And again, they've made him a little bit of a victim. They've created sympathy for him. But I will advise the president to make sure that he goes back to channeling the angst and the grievance of the people. They don't just feel forgotten in the Biden-Harris presidency. They feel invisible. There's one man who can fix the economy, can make us energy independent, can fix that border. And that's important for him to talk about these issues. This should be an issue-based, not an individual-based, policy, not personality, principles, not politics campaign.
Yeah, I could see how the VP pick becomes increasingly important at this stage. And Kevin, I want to get your take on that, and Kellyanne as well. But first, react to this, Kevin. Fox News Digital spoke with regular Americans about this verdict yesterday. Watch this.
Kind of blows my mind. Can you say banana republic?
I think it's a complete failure of our justice system, and it's a complete Joe Biden, Kamala Harris hit job.
I find it absolutely insane. It scares me that we would literally go after whether it's a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, any person running for office, that we would go after them in order to silence them. That's a scary place to be, and I don't want to live in America like that.
Kevin, there's a little montage of regular, ordinary citizens with their reaction after the verdict came down. It gives you a little sense of what could happen in the election. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm pretty sure that this election will be decided by independents in these critical swing states. So what I care about is what they think. And I think if we polled 10,000 of them today, my bet is 90% of them have no idea what this case was about, nor did they watch it even. And now they get this verdict. And so all the polls taken before the verdict with, the idea that maybe 60, 70% don't care, it's time to poll them now to find out if they do care now that Donald Trump is technically a felon. And obviously, they still don't know what the case was about because they weren't watching it. I think the key, though, is after all this excitement with this verdict coming down, it's back to policy. And so I haven't heard much in the last 6 weeks about what the plans are for border, for foreign affairs, for tax, for energy. I'd like to hear more of that. I think the independents would too. And then it's going to really matter. But my guess is there's going to be some shift in the polling as a result of the actual felony conviction.
Yeah.
But if you believe in the appellate system, and I do, because I'm not saying that these were bad jurors, I'm not saying the system's rigged at all. I'm just saying if it is wrong what happened, the appellate system will catch it. That's how America works. And I don't know when that's going to occur. I would suggest they accelerate that in this case because it's so crucial to the country. But I also agree that at the end of the day, if you're a voter and you're at the kitchen table, do you really care that much about this case other than the felony conviction? Or do you care about inflation, which is a big problem right now for both candidates? Because they've got to tame this thing on gas, food prices, and housing. That's what people vote about. That's what I'd like to see the focus go back to. And then we'll find out.
Right, and that's exactly what Kellyanne said in the beginning of her comments, that this is not going to change what's already in place, and that is Biden's inflationary America. All the guilty verdicts in the world are not going to change the fact that somebody I know just paid $13 for a loaf of bread the other day. Real quick, Kellyanne, on the VP pick, is this more important than ever right now, and who should it be?
It's very important because Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's VP, so anybody can beat her in a debate. But the point is that Donald Trump has an opportunity, Biden doesn't. I think Trump is very heavily looking at the Senate, which makes a ton of sense given the foreign policy and national security implications.
Yeah.
You've heard him mentioned, Senator Tim Scott, Senator Marco Rubio, I think Senator Tom Cotton, Senator J.D. Vance still on the list,
Yes,
maybe Senator
that's
Bill
right.
Hagerty, our former ambassador to Japan, business guy. He can't go wrong with any of them. I think he also has to see, though, who would replace them in the Senate, who would those respective governors appoint. I think in Florida you can end up with a twofer very easily. I think in Ohio it's a little bit more fraught, for example, and I'm sure President Trump is considering all those implications. He can't go wrong. I think if he picks a person of color, it makes a ton of sense. Because he is going to have monster returns among those constituencies. But look, the three criteria for me are, number one, somebody who can help you win, two, help you govern, three, ready on day one. That describes many people. It also describes former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He can't go wrong, and contrasting that to Kamala Harris is really the way to go.